Another example will be if you go back to the 5th century with the Nestorian crisis. St. Cyril's third letter to Nestorius, which is dogmatized in Ephesus 1, which contains the 12 anathemas against Nestorianism. And so the fake Orthodox, if the fake Orthodox lies were true, then what St. Cyril will address Nestorius will be in a complete different vein with how he's addressed. But let's see how St. Cyril addresses Nestorius. To the most reverend and God-loving fellow ministers Nestorius, Cyril and Synod assembled in Alexandria of the Egyptian province, greeting in the Lord. So Nestorius, despite being a heretic, is still regarded as a fellow minister, as a colleague.
David is mistaken in his interpretation of St. Cyril of Alexandria's actions regarding Nestorius. According to the History of Resistance by Subdeacon Nectarios Harrison, Nestorius began preaching heresy as soon as he became Patriarch of Constantinople in 428. His sermons caused widespread concern, even among the laity. News of these teachings reached both St. Cyril of Alexandria and Pope Celestine of Rome. Between 428–431, before any synod was called, both hierarchs attempted to correct Nestorius privately, following the apostolic command to admonish him as a brother. 2 Thessalonians 3:15. St. Cyril gave Nestorius the benefit of the doubt, writing to him directly and seeking confirmation from others. Once Nestorius confirmed his heretical views in writing, Cyril reported to Pope Celestine, letter 11, who then broke communion with Nestorius even before convening a synod in 430. St. Cyril and Pope Celestine severed communion with Nestorius before any formal synodal condemnation. This is confirmed in St. Cyril's letter to Patriarch John of Antioch, which recounts how Nestorius's own letters were read and rejected by the Roman Synod. This historical sequence refutes the claim that church authorities remained in communion with Nestorius until an ecumenical council. The truth is that communion was broken before any official synodal declaration, following the patristic method of distancing from heresy at its public manifestation, not after formal synodal judgment. Delays in formal action were due to the time, not less than 63 days to reach Alexandria, and in other cases a few weeks. It took for letters and decisions to travel across the empire, not because a synod was considered necessary before severing communion. Therefore, those who claim St. Cyril stayed in communion with Nestorius until an official council are misrepresenting history and the patristic approach to heresy. Communion with public heretics was rightly broken before any synodal ruling, just as it should be today. David, despite being some kind of patristic apologist, still bows to the spiritual leaders of this world, who are openly or covertly heretics themselves. If David truly possessed an apologist's degree, he would understand that heresy breaks communion, regardless of the person's office. David would also then know that spiritual obedience ends where heresy begins. Avoiding heretical clergy is not schism, it is faithfulness. Remaining in communion with known heretics, once their heresy is manifest and not repented of, is to share in their guilt. Where St. Paul the Apostle was also very clear. But even if we, or an angel from heaven, should preach to you a gospel contrary to the one we preach to you, let him be anathema. St. Theophan the Recluse also writes that the Spirit of God lives in the church, and even the simplest soul that lives in the church can sense what is from the Spirit and what is foreign to it.